In 2008, filings for foreclosures in the state of Idaho increased by over 92%, and one of the largest title companies in the state told me that 85% of its business right now is in real estate owned by the banks. With so many Idahoans facing foreclosure, not to mention the high cost of fuel and food, the last thing Idahoans need is another bill imposed upon them by the legislature in the form of new taxes. We've talked about fiscal responsibility, and what does that mean? It's one of those words that are bantered about a lot by politicians. I'd like to talk to you about what it means to me to say fiscal responsibility. When you and I have a dip in our income, we have to make some changes in our budget. We have to change the way we spend. We have to make some decisions about what we're going to spend our money on. Government needs to take a lesson from its people. Government needs to learn how to hold a line on spending and not submit another bill to the taxpayers in the form of new taxes. In 1998, the Idaho state budget was $1.4 billion. 10 years later, we were over $3 billion this year. At that same time, the increase in income for Idahoans only increased about 25%. One of the first things an elected official does when they take office is hold up their right hand and take an oath of office to uphold the Constitution. One of the provisions of the Idaho State Constitution is that all bills are to be read 3 times, and on the 3rd time before passage, they're to be read in their entirety, section by section. In the 1990s, I also participated in a television program called Public Policy in Context. During that time, I interviewed several legislators and talked about the reading of the bills. And of course, what I found out and what the legislators told me on camera was seldom did they actually read the bill. Instead, they actually depended on what we call our statement of purpose, which is a green sheet that tells you what the bill's about. When I asked how they voted on the bills, the reply was, by the seat of our pants. At one time during my stay in the legislature, we had a bill called the Cull Onion Bill. That bill passed the House with only 3 dissenting votes, mine being one of them. By the time it reached the Senate, it was discovered that there was actually no mention of cull onions in the bill. In fact, what the bill did was make the director of the Department of Agriculture in full charge of issuing orders. Didn't say whether they were written or verbal, but if you did not follow those orders or rules that he made, you could be guilty of a misdemeanor and fined and possibly jailed. During my freshman year as a legislator, I'll never forget sitting in State Affairs Committee when a gentleman came to testify before our committee about a bill that we were looking at. He was rather nervous, uncertain about how the process worked, but he was very eloquent in stating his concerns. When he was through talking, we were allowed to ask him questions, and he more or less had to defend his position. As this was happening, a thought occurred to me. What was wrong with this picture? And as I thought about it, I realized that the man shaking in his boots was our employer, and we were his employees. We should have been answering to him, and we should have been treating him with more respect. Despite the difficult times our nation and our state are facing, I believe that America is still the freest country in the world, and that Idaho is the best place in which to raise a family. If we are to stay that way, we must uphold our oath of office to uphold the Constitution. Over the next year, both our Congress and our state legislatures are going to have to face some pretty tough issues, especially relative to spending. It's time to have people both in Congress and in our state legislature who will work together on issues irrespective of party affiliation and work towards solutions for people. Our founding fathers told us that the price of liberty or freedom is eternal vigilance. But I can't do this by myself. Once you elect me to office, I need to keep in touch with you, and you need to keep my feet to the fire. You need to know that as a state legislator, I know that I'm hired by you and that I work for you. If you have any questions, I hope you will contact me through my website at elizabethallanhodge.com. Thank you.